Okay, welcome back to part 3 of my looking at and reviewing of the PlayStation, original PlayStation. Like I just mentioned, the difference between the games of the PS2 and PS3 is the fact that you had these black things here for the PS1, which basically allowed them to adapt to the overall, I think 3 to 5 megabytes, maybe more, of the PlayStation. Now, like I said, like I showed you in part 1, there were games that came out for it, like some games, rare games like Slots came out for it, which was actually a casino game. And of course we had Tekken 6, which came out for it. And then, as I was mentioning, we also had, movie studios making movies for it as well. I mean, not movies, but games for it as well. And this game right here, Space Jam, was brought out in time for when the movie came out, which was '96. In fact, this is one of the first PlayStation games to come out when it did. Because you take a look at the rating, they still went with the K to A rating instead of what they now use, which is E. So this was when they still used the K through A rating instead of using the E rating, which they use now. But this was based off the movie. It's a fun game. It's got the better graphics, I believe. Fun game. If you can find this, I suggest you play it. It's really fun, especially if you're playing against 2 players, or even if you're doing the tournament deal. It's really fun. So, yeah, that's the Space Jam game. And then also you had this game. Now I don't know if it was ported onto PS2, and I don't know if it was ported onto GameCube. You had Looney Tunes Racing. This is a fun game, basically, and it's got better graphics. Well, the graphics seem more like 3-dimensional, and it came out in 2000. And you basically race as the characters from Looney Tunes. That's right. You got characters like Bugs, Lola, Daffy, Foghorn, Lollycorn, Yosemite Sam, Wile E. Coyote, Porky, you name it, Peppy. You name the character. You basically think of the character, I should say, and you can race as them. I think that's what it is. You basically got all those characters in there, and it's a fun game too. So that's one of them. And of course, what gaming console wouldn't be complete without having their own version or spin-off of the most popular fighting game in the world, which is Street Fighter. Now, this is Street Fighter EX plus Alpha. I first played this game back in '96, I believe, and it's a 3D fighter. You got all 8 original characters plus 12 new fighters in what was dubbed as the biggest Street Fighter game ever. And basically, it is 3-dimensional. It's very 3-dimensional, believe me. If you have this game, you probably know what I'm talking about. But it's a fun game, and my sister actually had this game at one point, and I bought it back when I was in Kansas. So, at a CD trade post. I don't think you can read that, but it's a CD trade post I bought this at. And it's a fun game. And the one thing I liked about the games, even nowadays, is they actually tell you on the back how much memory they took. Like right here, this takes 1 block of memory. But it is a fun game. It's one of the first 3-dimensional Street Fighter games, but fun game. It's a part of the legacy. So if you have it, play it. If you don't have it, I suggest you go out and get it. If not, try to rent it if they still rent PlayStation games somewhere, and play it. You'll like it. And then, of course, what's a gaming system also without a wrestling game? Of course, as we know, back in the '90s and early 2000s, the 2 wrestling companies, if not 3 wrestling companies, were WWE, WCW, and ECW. And believe it or not, all 3 had games on the PlayStation, on the original PlayStation. WWE, I think, had the Warzone, I believe, and Attitude, I believe. And WCW had their mixture of games like Thunder, Mayhem, and of course, Nitro. That's right. This is one of the, I think this was the very first game they had, and you could tell it's one of the first ones because look who's on the cover of the disc. Paul, that's the Big Show when he was known as the Giant. And again, it's also at a time when they still did the K through A rating instead of the E rating they use now. But yeah, this was the first. This is one of the games that they had come out. This is WCW Nitro, and it's a fun game. You just got to get used to it. The controls are a little stiff, you know, but you got to get used to it. It's a fun game. So, yeah. And overall, those are the games for the PlayStation that I have. And then, of course, like I said, you look on the list on the link that I gave you in part 2, and you can see the whole list of games that came out for the PlayStation 1. I mean, unbelievable. Very longevity, had a lot of games come out for it. Now, another thing about the PlayStation 1, which a lot of people know about, is that you could also play CDs in here. That's right. You could play CDs in here. Now, some of you might say, well, wait a minute. Sega Saturn did the same thing. Sega Genesis CD did the same thing. You know, what's so different? Neo Geo did the same thing. TurboGrafx did the same thing. And even if they were able to work, the Jaguar CDs did the same things. You know, what's the difference? The difference is, well, I can't really tell you the difference, but they had graphics on theirs, basically. I don't know if yours had graphics or you just had or it just told you what track number it was. But anytime you played a CD on here, it showed you nice old graphics on the screen. So, but overall, that's basically what the PlayStation 2 was. It was a 32-bit system, which, you know, and probably the most successful one out of any incarnations, either by Sega or Atari or Neo Geo. And this is basically the entire thing. I mean, back here you had the, right here is for the AV adaptions, and here's your AC plug. And then right here, this is for serial. I don't know, I think that's where you can adapt to the other systems. But overall, it is a fun game, and I think on the side here is a vents. These actually help it cool off. And overall, it's a fun system, and if you take care of it like I've taken care of mine, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people do, it will last you a long time. So, yeah, that's basically the PlayStation, the original PlayStation in a nutshell. It's a very good gaming console. I don't know if many people still have one, and if they do, I don't know how much you play it, but I keep mine because it was my first one. In fact, they got the information on the back here. I don't think you can read that, but it's an AC 120 volt, 60 hertz and 10 watts system. Its model number is SCPH-9001 or 9001. And overall, it is a good gaming console. Well, what's this? November 1999. Oh, I guess my memory's short. I got it in 99. I thought I got it a lot sooner than that. Guess my memory's short. I thought it was in 96 that I got it. I probably was wrong. I don't know. I guess I got it in 99. So, well, either way, I still got one. But, yeah, it's basically the PlayStation, like I say, the PlayStation in a nutshell. So, that's all I have to say about it. I hope you enjoyed this little look back and looking and review of the PlayStation 1, of the original PlayStation, not the reincarnation one and not the redesigned one, but the original. And to quote the guy on a Classic Game Room, it's built like a tank. So, anyway, I hope you enjoyed this review and look back on it. I definitely suggest that if you don't got a gaming console like this, but if you don't got this gaming console, I suggest you try to find it at a gaming store or something like that. Even if it's just for nostalgic reasons, get it. It's a very good gaming console. It's had a longevity. definitely worth people buying the system. Believe me, it's worth it. It's worth it because it's got a huge library of games. And the thing about that is that even if you don't have this, the games that you could play on it, you could play those games on the PS2, and that is a huge library combined with the PS2 games, huge library. And as we all know, the PS3 has a PS1 archive, I guess now, so you can download them on there. But that's basically the original PlayStation in a nutshell. Hope you enjoyed this review. You got any comments? Leave them on the comment page. And I will talk to you all later. Take care, and God bless.